Good morning everyone at home. Welcome to your Wednesday assembly today with me, Mrs. Wolf. It's lovely to see so many of you and I'm very excited about being on all your screens at home. So hi, it's lovely to see you. Today in our assembly we are going to be talking about a Jewish festival called Purim. Now this festival happens in 2 days' time. So today is the 24th of February and Jewish people celebrate this festival on the 26th. They usually celebrate this festival by having parties and celebrations and even giving each other gifts. So I've got a short story to tell you about why they celebrate this festival. And there are some really fab characters in this story, especially Esther, who is so brave. So I'll tell you the story and then we'll have a little chat after we've listened. Okay, so this is the story of Esther. So there was a time when Jews lived in a country called Persia, which was ruled by a king. And then one day the king wanted to find a new queen. He found a lady called Esther. Esther was a young and very beautiful Jewish orphan who had been brought up as a daughter by her cousin Mordecai. The king decided that Esther, out of all of the people in his kingdom, should be his new queen. Mordecai instructed her not to reveal that she was Jewish. Now Esther's uncle Mordecai, who we just saw, one day he was sitting at the king's gate and he overheard 2 palace officers plotting to hurt the king. He sent a warning to the king and saved his life. Because of this, Mordecai's name was written in the royal record book. Now here's where the trouble started. Mordecai had an enemy close to the king named Haman. Haman disliked Mordecai because he refused to bow to him. Mordecai said he would only bow before God. Haman was so angry with Mordecai that he tricked the king into passing a law on a certain date that Mordecai and all the other Jewish people in Persia would be killed. Now, it was quite dangerous for Esther, even though she was the queen at the time, to approach the king without his permission. But Mordecai, her uncle, persuaded her that she'd been put close to the king by God, especially so she could save all the Jewish people. Esther came up with a plan and invited the king and Haman to a banquet the next day. That night, the king couldn't sleep and asked to hear the royal record book read aloud. Do you remember? That's where Mordecai's name was put after he saved the king. Realising that Mordecai had never been rewarded for saving his life, the king the next day asked Haman, "What should be done for a man the king delights to honour?" Haman, thinking the king was talking about himself, painted a rich picture of all the honours that should be given to him. Pleased with his suggestions, the king ordered him to go and arrange all of these honours for Mordecai. Mordecai was given the king's horse and robe, and Haman was forced to lead him through the streets for all to see. Haman was very cross. Later that day, Haman and the king went to Esther's banquet. The king was so pleased with her that he agreed to grant any requests she made. Esther then told the king about Haman's plot to hurt her people and asked him to save them. The king was so cross with Haman, and so Haman was defeated, and the king passed a new law that saved the Jewish people from their fate. Mordecai took Haman's place as the king's favourite, and God did all this through the beautiful Queen Esther. Wow, what a fantastic story. And wasn't Queen Esther so brave to stand up to the king and Haman? Fantastic. So, the festival of Purim is celebrated on the 26th, and in the synagogue they would usually tell that story from the book of Esther, and the children would sometimes boo when they hear Haman's name. He really wasn't a very nice character, was he? Not at all. It has made me reflect, that story, on how brave Esther was and whether we would stand up for things that we don't think are right and whether we could be that brave. I wonder if there's anything that you think in the world perhaps is unfair on some groups of people, and are we brave enough to stand up for what we think is right? Can we make a difference? I wonder what you think. Okay, have a wonderful day everybody, and I will see you soon.